not everybody at the mining summit was happy. Let's take a listen to Duma Qubule. He's an economist, and let's hear what he had to say about the charter.
I do not understand this haste to finish this charter. We must do a proper charter that complies with our BE legislation. And we have to do, and unfortunately, I do believe that we have to go back to the drawing room. The first thing we must do is to extend the deadline for people to make comments by another 1 month.
That is, of course, Duma Qubule. They're saying that we need the process to be extended. Well, joining me to continue the conversation is Sunday Times columnist Peter Bruce. Peter, I know you want to speak about the carry-on issue. Duma is saying that we actually need to start the process afresh. Do you agree?
Well, I don't know whether we need to start it afresh, and it's really nice to see you, Minister, and it is weird calling you Minister and not
Secretary General.
But anyway. Yeah, I think extending it is not a bad idea, but for what the purpose for which I would extend it would also include going to visit the people who we expect to invest in the mines. Let's go overseas and go and speak to some investors, because the money going into our mines, if you wanted to dig a new mine, Minister, now, if you wanted to dig a new shaft or whatever the terminology is, you're probably talking of around about $5 billion, right? I mean, to start a new deep level, 5-6 billion, which is an enormous amount of money, and that money is going to come from overseas. It's not going to come from South Africa. And it's going to be the savings of Mexican teachers and Singaporean dentists and German coal miners. Their pensions are going in. Why should they give 10% of their money away free?
The biggest investor in mining is PIC. It's not overseas money. That is the biggest single corporate investor in mining. Now, you can take ITC, add to that. They are making a big contribution. So I think this thing of counterposing overseas investors and local investors is actually mischievous and dangerous. We must talk about a mine. Exxaro has just opened a mine which is worth 3.3 billion rand in Belfast. Sasol has just opened a mine last week in Secunda, 5.6 billion. And they're continuing to do so. All I'm saying is that when they put that 5.6 billion in that mine, the people who will convert that investment into wealth is a worker who goes and give up his chest to dust, who drills, who actually with the accidents that we're seeing in the industry, they put down their life. So you cannot say they are not important, they must be ignored.
No, I didn't say that. But anyway.
Yes. What I was saying is that recognize their contribution, make them part of the family, make them committed, make them feel wanted, make them feel home in the mine they're working for. That's all we're saying.
Look, it's a common practice, and in fact, Germany, as you'll know very well, has by law unions sitting on the boards of every one of its companies. You cannot run a company in Germany without
called co-determination.
Mitbestimmung, co-determination. We ignore that here, and in a way, asking for 5% to go to the workers is quite conservative. We might even go for more, but you still got to get to the point where you have to convince an investor that that the return that they're going to make on their money in a South African mine is going to be worth it.
Yes. You see, I am talking about mining every day today because I looked at the last quarter's report that the production has declined by 2.2% overall, mining production. And that decline is led by 16% decline in gold. You can break the sectors down. And I'm saying that is not an issue of a miner or a mine worker. It is an issue of management and efficiency thereof. Modernizing management systems in South African mines. Stop the hierarchical management system where it is command and control. It doesn't work in modern business. And to me, we should modernize mining. If we modernize mining, because it is not a rare occasion to have creek carry. Actually, in many African countries, same companies that say it is too big a call actually do have bigger free carry in many African countries than we are asking for.
And are they getting the right levels of investment? Because I mean, it's a free carry, an attraction to the industry if you're an investor. I perfectly understand the point of view of the miner and the risk that they take and the value that they bring to the country. They're digging it out of the ground after all, not the management.
To come in. Before you answer, I just want to add a rider to what Peter's saying to give you a proper chance. This question of certainty, Minister, has now been with us for the entire Zuma administration, and you've set yourself a target. We have now extended the matter. Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the country, has just gone to Saudi Arabia, collected a lot of money. We're going to speak about that later. The energy minister says he can get a quarter of the $100 billion US from his sector to that total. What are you going to be able to contribute? Because the lack of certainty is keeping people away, the point that Peter's putting on the table.
No, let's not exaggerate this. That's why I'm giving you the example of Exxaro, Sasol, Rio Tinto is extending their operation in Richards Bay by 600 million rand. Now, and where I am in the actual sector, I quantify that investment, and we've asked the council to actually quantify the investment that is happening in mining, and also quantify the deterrence to that investment and work on them, because we can only have a prospering mining if the industry doesn't see us across the table, if it is part of an industry. If we must go to overseas, you know, when the first charter was leaked in 2002, we were in a delegation as Labour, business and government that went to UK, went to US, went to Canada, went to Australia, talking about mining. If that should be done, we'll do it. But the first thing, before we do that, we must be reading from the same page. It will not help the investors if we go there and then we say 5% free carry, the chamber stand up in the UK and say, we don't want this. Actually, what is going to deter investment in South Africa is the ability and the ease with which we talk ourselves down and talk negatively about our sector. The more we're positive about our sector and we put our shoulders on the wheels of the sector together, all of us, the better it will perform.
Can I ask a question? It used to be the case, and I remember this from years ago when I went to a mining in Durban. I can't remember how long ago, but it was a long time ago. And I remember the NUM delegate standing up, and he was talking about how mining companies ignored the places that miners came from, and rather were now under pressure, and the government under pressure to put money into the communities where mining took place. So what you have, because the people working down the mine aren't normally from where the mine is. They come from Transkei, Ponderland, Lesotho.
It used to be like that.
Well, has it changed that dramatically? Because there's so many people from Transkei, and I come from there, who still are looking for work in the mines or working in the mines, and their communities have got nothing to show for it.
Actually, in our definition in the chart, if you read it properly, you'll see that we talk about local community, we talk about labor sending areas. We're talking about them. But the difference is labor sending areas must be looked into for development. But communities where they are exposed to the dust, the pollution, and the scars that are on their land must get some recognition for that. It is those communities that burn tires at the end of mines who must coexist with those mines where they are.
But obviously, Minister, it's not an either or. I mean, both communities must be developed, those where the mines are physically located, and also the point that Peter's making about where these miners are coming from. But one of the things that, of course, is particularly concerning is the continuous deaths of miners. In the last couple of months, we've just seen this escalation, particularly at Sibanya. I mean, out of the 45 deaths, we've had 20 coming from that one mine. 21. Let's just have a listen quickly, Minister, to where we are on that matter, and then we can talk about what you want all the stakeholders to be doing.
The question, comrade, of Safety is another major issue. Up to now, mining has killed 45 workers, 45 fatalities, which is pointing an upward trend compared to what happened over the past 10 years with a spike in 2017. And when we were in the last disaster, COSATU, Comrade Tumu, made a point that let's close all the mines, Gasbany. Must just close them. And I said to them, no, comrade, we can do that. Law gave us the power to close all of them. Yeah? Section 54 for inspection, Section 47, we can take the license. But I said to them, if that is the only solution that COSATU has, it must go back to the drawing boards, because the following week we'll be in the same talk show talking about jobs that have gone down with the closure of those mines. We're inviting the union to come with ideas, comrade. The union must bring ideas on the issue of fatalities in the industry, think them through, and advise and work with us to reduce those numbers. Sibanye has killed, out of that 45, Comrade Marcel, 20 are from Sibanye.
Now, Minister, you've said the number's actually not 45, it's higher.
Yes.
But you've put the challenge
From that date to now.
Yeah, you've put the challenge to the unions. But what about mining companies? Surely they too are responsible.
No. I was talking in a conference of a union. Now, I can't talk to the mine bosses in a union conference. Okay, I talked to the union, that union must come. The reason that I'm putting that point is that I don't know if you know that in the rights that accrue to workers, there's a right to refuse to enter dangerous work. There's a right to participate. There's a right to information.
I remember you speaking about
there's
this.
There's a right to actually be involved. It's in the law. Now, and I'm saying only when unions are strong and organized can those rights be exercised by workers.
So are you saying
I'm starting from there. Number two, I'm saying the mining industry must take a bigger responsibility. That is our next major campaign now, to deal with safety. But when you say close all the mines, I said to some of my comrades who were raising them, close these mines. I said, you know, in 1986, Kindos killed 177 workers in one day. And the few years down the line, Valdos killed 104 in one accident. Those mines are all still operational today. Are still operational. Now, and I was saying to them, let's deal with safety, but when you deal with safety, don't be emotional, because you may actually drift the industry into a bigger disaster. And we're going to have that meeting with the industry unions and employers under one roof and talk about safety in the mines. It's not, that's why we call it health and safety, because it is not only the fatalities at work, it is also the death as a result of diseases in the long term.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, you know, mining is part of South Africa's tragedy, and it's part of our future as well, and as part of our future prosperity. What I just hope that you get it right, you know, that we're able to persuade mining companies that it is worth it bringing the workers in as shareholders, that it is worth it bringing the communities in as shareholders, and that the community will see the value of the mine as something positive to be taken care of and looked after, because what we want here is a settled economy, and as you said, we want to calm down and we want to be inclusive and we want everybody to have a stake in it, right? But you've still got to persuade, you still have to persuade, and it's not the PRC, you've got to persuade teachers in Vancouver and, as I said, dentists in New Zealand, that South Africa is a good place to put their pensions and their savings in. That's your job as the minister, not mine or anybody else's. And it's a hard one to do.
It's my job, it's the job of the mine owners who must attract those investments. No investor will invest in TMR. Investors will invest in the companies, in the industry. We must go together and talk to investors. It makes more sense when we're together sharing the same notes, talking to investors from the same side.
All right, Minister, we're running out of time. Thank you so very much for joining us here on The Fix. As always, a pleasure to engage with us. Up next, the week ahead.